there comes a time in someone's life where, you just kind of say enough's enough. And that pain turns into extreme clarity.
Welcome to the Smart Talk series, the show for professionals who want strategies, tips, and real talk about all things PR, marketing, and social media. Your host is Melissa Vella Williamson, an award-winning, accredited, and nationally recognized PR pro and communication thought leader. And now your host, Melissa Vella Williamson.
Hello and welcome to the Smart Talk series. I'm Melissa Vella Williamson. This season, our focus is on milestone moments. Today, I'm joined by Hussein Al-Baiaty. Hussein is an author marketing strategist, author, and founder of Rising Authors, a platform that helps nonfiction writers grow their influence, income, and impact through powerful brand building. Welcome, Hussein.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. This is fantastic. Love the platform.
I'm excited to turn the mic on you and have a great discussion. Tell our listeners all about yourself, your background, your career focus today. What are you up to?
Yeah. Like you said, I am an author marketing strategist. I like to think of myself as a person that helps people really build clarity, brand, and communicate, who they're for, what they do, how they do it, all that good stuff. So they don't get lost in noise of, current social media world, but also to really build something unique, lean into their qualities and uniqueness as a human being. I think the most powerful marketing out there is when people share about you. And if they share about you or your company or organization, your product or service, what is that experience that they share? And my goal is to help people create something memorable. Again, whether it's their book or their talk or their consulting services or whatever, my goal is to just help them extract what makes them unique and how they can attract more of the audience they want to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not simple work, is it?
No, it's not simple.
It's not simple.
It's very deep. Because a lot of people struggle with, and I'm sure you know this as well, Melissa, a lot of people struggle with, clarity or
Right.
giving up past things that they were once good at and now need to kind of pivot into something new. And they're just sort of unsure how to navigate those waters because it's difficult.
Yeah. Oh, you just gave me a wonderful on-ramp for my second question for you because this year alone, this is 2025 when we're recording this, and I mean, the word of the year is like uncertainty.
Mhm.
And people can't stand that. And that's so human that I want to give that acknowledgement and grace. It's very human of our brains to not like uncertainty and change. And we have to work with that fact and understanding and still try to be strategic about where we go, how we evolve, how we endure uncertainty. So I love that you mentioned that because there is a lot of self exploration when one, you're a professional communicator. And even if you're doing that for other types of clients, external clients, but I would say even more so when you are pursuing being a writer or an author and having to really turn that light on yourself and try to promote and share about what you're doing. So this season is really about milestone moments because I am so really enthralled about making the most of that kind of platform you have when it's an anniversary or you're graduating from one level of life to another. But sometimes when life happens to you and you need to make a pivot. So tell us a little bit about a milestone moment that you experienced, or maybe a moment that you made happen strategically that was impactful in your career.
Yeah. So I think, man, there's so many. I'll be honest with you. It's hard to like really wrap it into one. I will say though that, I'm very grateful I got to grow up in the States, in Portland, Oregon, actually, after, my family and I went through a refugee camp for about 4 years. So growing up, after a post 1990 Gulf War. Um, and so, I consider myself extremely lucky and very fortunate that my family and I got to sort of escape that part of the world, and I got to grow up in the States safely. And I had an amazing dad who he was an artist, he was a poet, he was theater, he was a painter, uh, really well known in Iraq. And his art literally saved our lives from the refugee camp. So the moment that I would say, really shaped me and like really changed my, I guess you could say, trajectory in life and really leaning into my purpose would be, unfortunately, when he passed in
Mm.
2016. That made me realize that, like, you know, there was a part of me that like people pleased, and there was a part of me that just wanted to do everything for everybody and just put a smile on people's faces, which I love. It's a not a bad part of me, but it was a part of me that I needed to really like level with, and so that I can become my own person and really lean into the next phase of my life, which became really all about, like, I needed to write this story about my father and our sort of how we came to America and all that stuff, because I thought that was very important, for my nephews and nieces and the generation and now my own child. um but really also, I was speaking at the time quite a bit, and yeah, I just needed a way to sort of cross the bridge over to publishing. And I gave up my, at the time, apparel printing company, and we were doing a little bit of marketing and website development and stuff like that as well. And I was like, I want to speak full time. I want to write, and I want to be the most sought after marketing expert in the world. Like, that was like in my mind. I just love the world of marketing and being like leading with conscious marketing and like really gathering people around great ideas and those kinds of things. And at the time, I just really wasn't sure how to do that. But you know, the gift was when my father passed, I like let go of things that I didn't really want to do anymore, and it really turned up the heat on everything I really wanted to do. So that's yeah, that's how I kind of found myself. A few years later, I sold my business. I got into writing my book called Art of Resilience: The Refugee State of Mind. Um, and I found myself in publishing, and then I saw that there was a huge gap in how people saw marketing in the authoring world. Everyone really focuses on the book. I try to focus on the author. I knew my personal brand was the thing that elevated everything I did, and I knew how important that was. And so I just saw that like no one was helping authors in that way. And so yeah, I took kind of a leap and started a program called Rising Authors. And that was, I guess you could say, that moment of, when my father passed, I knew that's the world I wanted to go into. And it's kind of, unfolded in amazing ways. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and I love your story in that there are these times where you're at that crossroads. There was a change that happened, kind of a reckoning in some ways, like you said, personally, where you're like, you know what, this doesn't matter anymore. Like in times of tragedy and loss, there is clarity of what really matters.
Mhm.
That has certainly been an outcome and silver lining of really this decade, right? But for sure, the
Mhm.
pandemic, where I realized too that, hey, my life is not promised. And even if I'm doing all the things that I can do to be healthy, there can be external circumstances that change, my path and my possibilities. So it is like a pruning
Right.
of, okay, you know what, this doesn't matter. And you can come back stronger. And again, a little more focused on what you want to do, what you don't want to do, because we only have so much health capacity and energy. And you certainly know that now as a new dad, don't you?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. New joy in life. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you just experienced one of life's biggest moments and milestone moments for sure, the birth of your first child. How has this milestone really impacted you so far?
I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, typically after, something really sad that happens in life, if you give it enough time, if you can persevere through it, something really joyful happens in life. And it's kind of the opposite, right? In that I got to have an amazing partner, my wife, who's just literally the most incredible human being I could ever have had the opportunity to not only be with, but like she's just the right person for me. And I'm so grateful because she's helped me through so many things. And then of course, baby Amir comes along and makes a seismic shift in our life. Of course, he's beautiful, he's cute, he's chubby, he's he just it's a very spiritual experience, and I'm so fortunate to get that experience. And now I get to have someone I can sort of pass this torch down, full of stories and love and everything that my father taught me. I get to teach him, and the same for Hannah. um so yeah, we're very excited about this next chapter in our lives, and I think my next book is definitely all about writing for him. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I love that. I love it so much for so many reasons. I love that you say a seismic shift because absolutely, it's like, the ground shakes and cracks wide open, your heart cracks wide open, and again, like you never see anything the same. The paradigm shift,
Yeah.
that is the moment, right? That is the milestone. I think for the best parents, hopefully, for all parents, but
Mhm.
definitely the best parents can see that and embrace it. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate how earlier you were talking about after your father passed, you realized that you couldn't spend much more time or energy, to sum that up pretty quickly, people pleasing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And we can't make everyone happy, and I think I've learned that more as a mother than anything else, especially as it
Mm.
relates to my nuclear family, the family I was born into, and I was a daughter, and that was my role. I see that as an adult. Sometimes
Mhm.
that's a rub and struggle to help my family that I was born into understand that I have a family that I am responsible for. And that has to be my primary focus and my primary role. And I bring that up. One is a little piece of advice for you as a new dad, as you all get some pressure sometimes from different opinions or family friends or whatnot, right? We just can't make everyone happy.
Mhm.
We have to figure out who we are responsible for and who we need to focus on as our primary relationships. And I think someone who's got so much heart like you, Hussein, like that
Mhm.
resonates with me. And I want to share that because I was just walking through some of that again this week, and you realize it's hard. And I think if you come from communities of color in particular, we're brought up with a very family first mindset, which is great. But when we create our own families, sometimes that transition doesn't always happen in the same equality. So
Mhm.
I'm
100%.
interested to see how people walk through that, and always love to give advice and get advice around it because it's hard when you do have that big caring heart for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, ultimately just learning to have boundaries, learning to say no. It's definitely not my strongest suit, but um there will be something in your life. If you struggle with that, either you can recall a certain thing or something may happen. It may not be as drastic as someone passing or whatever, but there's always something in someone's life that can help you make that decision to say no, or say not today or not this week, or, and I think the more we prioritize our own clarity, our own self worth, the more, whether those people understand it or not is up to them. It's not your fault. And I remember driving when we were going to bury our father in Iraq, and we were in this like van. I just remember that clarity. It was like a diamond that I can point to right now. Was that I knew I was going to marry Hannah like that day. I knew
Mm.
I was going to move states. I knew I was going to write my book. I knew I was going to sell my business. I just like it was like this. I was just going through my mind, and like every decision that was I was, like, wondering about or, like, thinking about for, like, a while, it all was eliminated. The decisions were made. I just needed to put them in action. And I think there comes a time in someone's life where, you just kinda say, "Enough's enough," and that pain turns into extreme clarity. And with extreme clarity, your blade becomes sharper than anything, and you can literally cut through your own noise and decide. And the decision is the most beautiful thing we can do for ourselves. And that's where I was, and that's what happened.
I think that's so well said. It's so crystallized when you go through a milestone moment like that,
Mhm.
that I think that if we can appreciate that and pick those up as our silver linings and say, okay, let me do something with this. I made a joke during the pandemic, some of the hardest days. I'm like, there are, so many pressures and yet so many silver linings that I just
Mhm.
decided to put it together and start, weaving together a blanket. And, that's the calling I had for the book is I better document things. I better document
Mhm.
things in case something happens. At least my children will know how to work in the industry. And now with Latinas in PR, it's at least
Right.
people know a little more of why maybe Latinas aren't advancing in an industry I feel like they should be so proficient and excited about and
Yeah.
really, applauded for. And so digging into that, the why I think is can be helpful, but a lot of this work can feel very, in some ways, particularly if I think you are a caregiver, it can feel selfish or self promotional. And I want to highlight that because I think the best marketers are coming from a space you're in now, Hussein, is a
Mm.
very grounded, certain place in which you're
Yeah.
saying, I've walked this path. I know the way. I can help you get there. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And often in marketing, sometimes it can seem so cold or transactional, but I think that putting that cultural strategy and aspect to it and our own personal lived experiences in our work can really make it feel more relatable, more believable, and more attractive for folks. So I just wanted to point that out based on what you were
Yeah.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
I agree.
Well, you know about resilience. You literally wrote about resilience. And we've experienced just incredible change this decade. And I want to highlight that people have been laughing at me lately, like, yeah, you're right. It's like this whole decade, right? I'm like, yeah, the whole decade's been a little different. And our days ahead certainly aren't certain. And I just wondered how you suggest, based on your lived experiences and now your personal and professional experiences, how do you suggest we navigate uncertain times as professionals?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think for me personally, and people can take away what they want, I can only reflect on my own sort of resilient story, if you will. Um, I think, resilience is not something we build. It's not something we like curate. It's not something that like you read about in a blog and be like, oh, I have it now. It's like resilience is who we are as human beings. We wouldn't get to 2025 if human beings weren't resilient. Our ability, our innate ability to just make it through hard times is just literally it's embedded in who we are. We survive not only external situations, we survive internal situations. And I think for me, what I lean on the most when things are tragic or something happens or resilience is also something good, right? Like there's a lot of good that can happen from bad situations. I think it's all about perception. So it's just, how do you want to see the world? It's not how it is, it's really about how you want it to be. I'll give you a perfect example. When Amir was born, he he had some fluid in his lungs. And, you know, the doctors were coming in and like, oh, we got to take him NICU. It's this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that. And in my mind, I'm like, it's none of these things. My son is fine. He's healthy. He's going to cough up some water. He's going to be A-okay. Like in my mind, what I want rules the world in my world, right? And that is from resilience. That's a literally that's the core of resilience. It's embedding hope and understanding flexibility, adaptability, change, and prosperity, right? That like, though this is a tough moment, I will not allow this moment to dictate and take away the joy, the how resilient my own child is, and kind of utilizing that aura, that energy, and projecting it out into the world. Now, of course, you're a little upset. You're like, "Oh man, this is serious. Something's going on." But I'm not going to allow them to dictate what's going to happen because those words are powerful. And I've learned that, my faith in my hope is that what I think is my reality. So in that moment, I was thinking, my kid's amazing. He's resilient. He's literally going to cough this up and everything's going to be fine. And that's exactly what happened. It's literally exactly what happened. On the way to the NICU, he coughed up some of the little water. And honestly, for the next 36 hours, he was 100% fine.
Wow.
And and here's my thing about resilience. It's not what you're going through. It's what you do with what you're going through. It's how anything that comes up in my life, I'm like, "Oh, this is such a good add to my life story. I'm gonna freaking barrel through this." Because I look at it as like, this is just energy. This is just fuel. It sucks at the time. It's not good, or, it may be challenging, hurting, financial, family, death, whatever. But here's the best reality of all of this. All of our ancestors have gone through tremendous amount of pain, suffering, struggle, something. Use that. That's your fuel. If they've gone through it, you can too. And that's kind of like my philosophy is that my people, I call them garden warriors. Like I literally, like we have a name for them. And my dad used to pass down these stories about our ancestral heritage. And it's like they are warriors and they are protecting these gardens of knowledge, of wisdom, of literally food and nutrition and family and tribes. And I get to be a part of that. And so it's like, well, how am I going to show up today? Does my wife need me to look like like in a rut and I'm crying and oh my God, I'm frustrated? Or does she need me to be strong and, excited and like gonna barrel through this moment? There's so many moments like that. We almost lost the house we were trying to purchase, right? And I was like, nope, that's not gonna happen. Here's what we're gonna do. And it was just using resilience as a force, saying like, no, I just don't accept that. This is my reality. My reality works like this. Now, here's the best part. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be anyway. So what's for you will never miss you. That is my one of my favorite all-time quotes. It's by
Mm.
Imam Ali. What is for you will never miss you. And so if it's not for me, it wasn't meant to be. So I move on and keep it trucking. So that's how I've defined resilience for myself. It happens every day. You have to be resilient in business. You have to be resilient in how you speak. You have to be resilient in approaching life. And I think for me, it's your words are extremely powerful. How you think them and how you say them. So if there's fear in there, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. I get a lot of questions about confidence. And I think that was something that I did a lot of self work on in different parts of my career, for sure,
Mhm.
before I became a business owner. Definitely during the year of becoming an author. For me, that was a metamorphosis. Like I literally have a little butterfly a figurine here on my desk
Yeah.
because I felt like a caterpillar being squeezed,
Yeah.
and that growth is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And you're just making me think of my kids a lot. We had some scares with my daughter, and my intuition was so strong at that time. It was much like yours, where I was like, she's fine. I think we need to leave her alone, right?
Yeah.
I just had a knowing, and I just want to bring that up because sometimes you'll hear, especially if you worked or were around diversity, equity, and inclusion type departments or workshops or talks, and I bring this up intentionally so we can continue to have these important conversations that your whole self matters, and how you can manage yourself personally will help you professionally. And what you do professionally for others to coach them up, get them ready, get them camera ready, get them, panel ready, build their confidence and self-worth for something. We have to make the time to do it for ourselves to be the best person, because that whole self will show up. And if we're afraid or come off that way, people won't follow us. And most of this work demands that we show leadership qualities,
Yeah.
and showing that you know the way or you will figure it out is very helpful in our work for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm,
And you're an embodiment of that, right? Like you as a person, Melissa, like, it's when we embody those qualities, we just are. It's hard to describe them or explain them, but like, if you can go through hard things personally,
yeah.
you could do the job, but it's the job is also relying on how you are emotionally, right? For me, that's the thing. It's like I know when I'm not feeling good, I tell myself, "Oh, the reason why that all these things are bothering is I don't feel good. I need to go and feel good, so I'll put something funny on." Or you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then when I come to the work, I feel good, therefore I will execute my work. Like, for me, it's the how we are in the world, whether it's at your job, your life, your whatever, is really based on how you feel. And so, there's always that quote out there, like if you can feel bad for no reason, you can feel good for no reason. I try to remember that. You know what I mean? And it's like you could go out, figure out a way to feel good despite the madness, and watch what happens. It's incredible. It really is. How can I feel good in this moment? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you got to lean on a partner, a friend, a comedian,
Yep.
something, a book, whatever it is that you're into, music. But you got to figure out that thing and have it readily available and know yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's good to remind people of that because I think we talked about that a lot during the pandemic about how to boost our feelings of hope and positivity. And now that we're quote unquote back to normal in terms of at least activities, right? We're forgetting that. And we have to consciously consume so that what we produce as people is in alignment with how we want that received. And I absolutely, you're right, because I consciously have like, nope, can't watch that, can't read through all of that. I can only skim that, just
Mhm.
in some ways to save myself so that I have the right attitude and capacity for the hard challenges I might encounter during, the work time or the parenting time, to be frank, because each season is different, Hussein.
100%.
So enjoy
I know.
enjoy the
Getting ready.
little babbling stuff. Well, and you're right on of being conscious about what we take in and how we kind of take care of ourselves so that we can keep going through change.
Yeah.
So sometimes people need inspiration to move or just persevere, right? How
Mhm.
do you feel like we can leverage perhaps maybe some of these milestone moments to level up or enhance our work, maybe advance what we're doing career-wise, or just make a really important change?
Yeah. I think, you know, for our work specifically, um, again, if it's external, there needs to be internal work. That's the balance. So I think for me, you just have to be like utterly truthful with yourself. And um, I think the one thing I work with a lot with literally every author I get to work with and expert is that it's always muddy when I ask them what they do, like what they really do and like what they want to do. They want to do everything that they see, right? Like how does this one person do a podcast, a this, a that? They're doing multiple, they want to do all the things all at once. And so sometimes in our lives, with even if we're working at a job, right? We want to maybe that job is depleting us and maybe we're just not doing all the things. Whatever it may be, it's typically because they're unclear. They haven't sat with themselves in a quiet room for more than 45 minutes. No phone, no laptop, no freaking anything. No podcast, no YouTube, no Instagram, none of that stuff. Because we're constantly plugged into an external world that's trying to tell us we either not good enough, fill us with fear, we're not smart enough, so we need a million certificates, we need a million degrees, we need like all of these things. So like the problem is like I've worked with someone who literally went to Harvard for marketing and is hiring. I went to Portland State for architecture. I didn't go to right. I just understand human behavior probably a little bit more than the average person because that's what I study and love. So what's interesting is it's the person who is trying to do the most is usually the most unclear about the direction they really want to go. And I always tell people, like, pull back the curtain on yourself. Go somewhere where you can actually sit there and think through the BS and think through, like, what really matters to you, right? Because everyone I work with wants, most everybody wants different kinds of things, but it's predominantly like, I want to be seen for XYZ, right? That's what most people think marketing is. And I say, well, why would anybody want to see that? What is interesting about that? Why would I want to share about that, talk about that, learn about that, or invite someone else to look at that? Whatever that is, your book, your service, your, community, your whatever it is. What is interesting? And it's your job to extract what's interesting and bring it out into the table and talk about it in a unique way. So, and again, it could be a podcast, it could be a book, it could be all kinds of things. But if you're not clear about that thing and that offer or the core of your message or the core of what moves you, like genuinely, all this other stuff is fluff. It doesn't matter because no matter what you do, it'll never feel like it's enough. The likes won't come in, fast enough. The comments won't come in fast enough. The purchase, it'll just never be enough. So what I've realized with a lot of people is um, choose one thing. Like, just choose. I know this is the hardest thing to say to people in 2025. You can always add, but you got to start with one. And for me, it was just like, I said this to myself, and this is the one thing I wake up to every day. I am the most sought after author marketing expert in the world. Like, that's my statement to myself. Now, what does that mean? It means I have to learn this stuff. It's a big burden to carry. Like, so if I am this person, I have to act sort of from that place. Okay. Um, what does that mean? It means I have to be really good at what I do, like really, really good. And so that means I have to read and study and learn. And, whether it's about cameras, whether it's about this, whatever it is, I'm always learning about that thing. But I'm not looking for certificates. I'm looking for ways to improve how I articulate what I know and what I practice. And so when people wake up, it doesn't mean I'm a bad father. Doesn't just because that's my professional statement, right? And that's the thing that I lead with. But it doesn't mean that I am actually the most sought after expert in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually mean that. In my mind, I just put that burden on myself. So that makes that I make sure I give myself the level of confidence so that I know what I need to know to go into a space to teach someone about XYZ. And so that reduces, I'm kind of probably going off on a tangent here, but that just reduces the friction around, am I good enough to do this? What should I be doing today? There is no question in my mind what I should be doing every day. Like, that's gone, right?
Mm.
Because I have that sentiment, I attract the people I want to work with, right? I write about the things, I do the videos about the thing, I meet the people like you, right? Um, and it's not coincidental. It's really my mission. It's my mission. It's my mission in life. It's my mission statement. And that's going to unfold into many things, more books, more of like, I have this thing called the Garden of Wisdom that I want to build one day. I want, it's like a big thing in my life. It's a big mission. And I just tell people, like, document your mission. Once you know that statement for yourself, it's literally the number one exercise we do when we work together is
Mhm.
clarity. I spend probably a month and a half with people about clarity. And some people would say, "Well, I thought this was like a marketing thing." I'm like, this is marketing. Marketing is utter clarity. And you know this as a PR expert, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are too. It's like, if we're not clear about who we are, what we do, how we do it, all that stuff, and there's confusion, you're going to confuse the public because you're public relations, right? So the relationship is confused. Therefore, the messaging is confused. And therefore, the person's confused, which makes no one want to trust, which
Yep.
makes no one want to purchase or sign up or be a part of the thing that you're doing. So once we get clear from clarity, everything unfolds. And I'm a big component of that. And it's just clarity is life. Once you're clear, everything happens. So I know that was a sort of a long answer to your question. So my apologies.
We're gonna work on you getting more clear on that.
I know.
Just kidding. See, I'm already doing my PR tips with him.
No, I
No,
know. It's good. I
but
need this.
yeah, well, the context is helpful because again, especially if anyone becomes into that place where they have to be their own promoter, which I will tell everyone listening, it is your responsibility and your honor to be your own promoter because it will help your
Mhm.
career. And when your career is going well, you can help your family, right? And especially for women where there's research that shows, and I wrote about it in my second book for sure, that women are not comfortable with self-promotion, and part of that is because culturally, we're being taught these different scripts that say we shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't be loud, we should serve others first, all that good stuff. And guess what?
100%.
It matters. It matters
It
for you
does.
to be able to be a leader, do good work, and help those you care about. And what I'm hearing from you is that clarity on figuring out that one goal. Because when you know that goal, it's like when we put it together a strategic communications plan or a PR plan for a client, is what is your goal? Give me one must goal. And then
Mhm.
all the objectives and strategies and tactics and activities and great ideas we have to get you to success on that goal. It has to get you to a goal, right?
That's
And
the
that,
filtration. Yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
Laser focus is definitely gonna make it happen. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so your work with this vantage point of working in publishing, being published yourself, doing your own promotion yourself, because we have to as authors, and then supporting authors as your clients gives you a really unique perspective on how people can advance their position professionally or hold themselves back. You talked about not having clarity about what they want or how they want to be positioned or that end goal. But any other insights that you want to leave behind with our listeners on this vantage point?
Yeah. I'm going to give you some tactical things now. So once you kind of have that clarity, then I would say the number one thing is clean up all of your social media. Just clean it all up. Whether you hire a designer, a brand person, whatever that is, make sure that that message in some way, shape, or format resonates online. So your LinkedIn profile, your banner, your feature section, your about section, it's not about you, it's about who you help. Like it's like the number one thing. Your promotional of yourself, it's just sharing your expertise. So when people say that's icky, that sounds gross, I say it's not. It's you're thinking about you when actually you need to be thinking about who you serve. What do they need? What do they struggle with? All that good stuff. So your branding, your messaging needs to reflect that. Number two is you need to have a hub. So whether you work at a company already or have your own company or whatever it is, your website has to be the most amazing website that you'd ever seen because you're going to lead people there. People are going to find you some way, shape, or form, and they're going to find your website. It should be a hub for all your content. So whatever you post on LinkedIn, whatever you post on wherever you post, right, your articles, your things, they should live on your website. It's no longer search engine optimization, it's search everywhere optimization. What that means is people are searching for you on ChatGPT or people like you, and ChatGPT is going to recommend you. And it's going to recommend you based on what it sees out into the world. And so if your digital presence is not good, now is the time. It is 2025. Make the investment, do it yourself, whatever you got to do to make it amazing. Even look, if you help other people do this, my dad used to always say this is, don't be the general contractor with the broken door. Like, just don't be the person that talks about how amazing your messaging needs to be, how clear, and then you're not that person. Like, just don't do that. So that's practical stuff and start something that you can do regularly. So that is videos, podcasts, newsletters, posting, whatever it is, have a regular committed cadence to that. Again, no matter if you work for a company or work for yourself or work for your business or whatever, you got to have something of a cadence. because eventually people will start to recognize you. Like, you lead the way, you talk your talk. Like, for me, I do all the things that I tell my people to do. Like, I don't do, if I'm not doing it, I'm probably not going to talk about it because I'm not doing it. But there's a lot of people out there that don't do the thing, but talk about the thing. And that annoys me. I can't deal with that. I don't have time for that. So I always want to work with people who are remarkably good at the thing that they say that they're good at, because I see it long before they actually talk about it. Um, so that's who I want to work with. And as far as like people I want to hire to help me build my business. And guess what? That's what people want. That's the easiest way to build trust, to be the person, and you got to embody your message. Like, you do such a good job of this, Melissa. Like, you wrote the books, you have a podcast, you share about this online. Like, you embody your PR work. And so if you're out there and you have PR and you talk about this stuff, like, you got to step into the light, because people want your services. They want your help. They want your support. They don't know what they're doing. And if you show up and share your expertise, there's a good chance they'll hire you. So those are the tactical things. Clean up your messaging, your online profiles all the way through. Um, and then have a hub, create an amazing website. Like, it has to be fire. Like, you can't wait for people to go check it out. That's how good it needs to be. And then 3, create content that serves who you want to help.
I love it. And we're aligned in so many of your points. And I'll just put my little public relations point of view on it because I feel like that needs to be said just about every time around any communication discipline, because you're doing the work to clean up your social and you have a beautiful brand professionally. And then your personal channels are a hot mess express. Like, that's not an alignment. that's
Mhm.
that's not whole self and authentic, and people will call you out. Also what we do offline, right? So
Right.
don't say, I'm a top leader and respectable, and then you're the next meme because you did something
Mhm.
a little off color on your off time. So we need to think about that too. And I love the clarity, consistency, and just being on purpose and thoughtful is already going to be a step ahead. And if your
100%.
website, if it's hard for you to make that like amazing looking, remember from a PR point of view, at least make the copy and substance current
100%.
and
Mm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Right? And hit real easy writing tip, and I forget it and I remind myself of it too. But if you find yourself talking about something again and again, then that's probably good copy somewhere. So really easy to kind of get started, but at least on the website, that is your house. Make sure your door is not all broken. Especially if
Exactly.
you say you're a great communicator, or that, your organization keeps it up too. I like that phrase a lot better. The one that I come back to is super old. People don't get anymore. I don't think it's that, like, the cobbler's children have no shoes.
Right.
My daughter's like, "What's a cobbler?"
Right.
Like,
Right.
not a
Yeah.
dessert. Okay, I need a new phrase. So I like your dad. So kudos to him and you. Well, this has been great, Hussein, and I just love conversations with heart and a lot of great tips for people. It
Yeah.
just kind of makes me think of why I'm doing this work, right? My goal behind it. Makes me want to ask you what I ask all my guests is, what does smart talk mean to you?
Good question. I guess it's just that, um, I I kind of live by this quote, seek knowledge and spread peace. And I think in a lot of ways, smart talk, just embodies that. It's like, what's the knowledge we want to share here? And how does this help us bring peace to ourself, our world? How could we use the techniques, the stories, to live out something beautiful? And I think you embody that so well, which is why I'm so proud of your work, your books, and of course, this podcast.
Oh, same, my friend. I think peace will just increase in value. So I think that's
100%.
one of the smartest answers I've heard. I love it. Thank you.
Aw,
Well,
sweet.
this has been a great conversation. I want a lot of people to be able to connect with you after. What's the best way for listeners to find you?
Yeah, thank you. I think the best place to find me is LinkedIn. You can literally look up Hussein, Hussein, Al-Bayati, Al-Baiaty. You look me up on LinkedIn. You can literally Google me. My website is HusseinAlBayati.com. Or the best way, if you really are interested in becoming an author, building a brand, all that fun stuff, We can have a conversation. You can book a call on my website, rising-authors.com. And that's where you find all my work, articles, resources, videos, all that good stuff.
Perfect. And I love what he's doing, y'all, with the infrastructure, all the foundational pieces an author might need. Again, a lot of his methodology is similar to how we might set up our organization, our client, or maybe a nonprofit or a startup business. So it's sound, it's good. 2 thumbs up. I love it.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yeah, well, thank you, Zane, for sharing your knowledge and your heart with us today.
What a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Thanks to our listeners for joining me for today's episode. We love covering communication topics that elevate our industry practice. If you'd like to go deeper, you can work with me as a coach, trainer, consultant, or hire my firm, MVW Communications, for strategic communication and public relations services. My industry books, Smart Talk Public Relations Essentials All Pros Should Know, and Latinas in Public Relations, Shaping Communications, Communities, and Culture, are also available for purchase on Amazon. Grab your copy there, and please leave us a supportive review. Book reviews and podcast reviews help more aspiring or hardworking pros find our resources. As always, think smart and communicate smart. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Smart Talk series. If you learned something or enjoyed our conversation, share it on social media or send to a friend. To learn more about this and other communication topics, visit mvw360.com. That's mvw360.com.